very good afternoon. I know it's a Valentine week, and more specifically, the second most important day of the week, and a Valentine Eve. So I won't take much time of you. The next 45 minutes, I have a presentation that I would like to run with, and then if you have any questions regarding the topic for today, which is how do we prepare ourselves for a successful entrepreneurial journey. So that is where we will, at the end of the presentation, I'm happy to take your questions, feedback, suggestions, and hope to interact with all of you as I move through the presentation. And
Hello.
yes,
Ankit, your voice is little low. Can you make it little louder if it is possible?
okay,
Due to
sure.
mic distance, it is, I guess it's little low.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's quite better. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the feedback. And please, in between, let me know if there is any disturbance or anything that is there, and please stop me in between as well. Okay, with this, you already have my introduction. I would like to introduce the organization that I'm coming from, which is called Wadhwani Foundation. It's a US-based, not-for-profit, philanthropic initiative by Dr. Ramesh Wadhwani. The mission is to accelerate economic development in emerging economies, where we want to do large-scale job creation, and that we do with various initiatives at the foundation. A little bit about Ramesh, an IIT Bombay alumni, moved to Silicon Valley, started his couple of companies in the initial few years. The third company that he started was sold for $9 billion in 1999.
Hello. Yeah, Ankit, your voice is breaking, little bit breaking.
One second. So let me just switch off my video. Is it audible now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'll share my screen again. Okay. So I was talking about Ramesh. The third venture that he started in the year 1990 was sold for $9 billion in the year 1999-2000, which is, as if you look at today's conversion ratio, around 70,000 crore. And that's where he started the foundation in India with the mission to create entrepreneurs, with the mission to create large-scale jobs. Today, we are present in 20 countries across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And we have various verticals various initiatives where the whole idea is to create massive jobs. I will not go much into the details of each of the verticals, but the details are available on website, and any of you can go and check on this. More importantly, I come from the Wadhwani vertical, Wadhwani entrepreneur vertical, where we work with entrepreneurs in inspiring them, educating them, and helping them launch real commercial ventures. Wadhwani NEN is where we work with aspiring and existing entrepreneurs, students like you, who aspire to become entrepreneur but doesn't know what to do and how to go about it. And then we provide the right skills and knowledge set to create high potential startups. How do we do this? We have a 1-year program in entrepreneurship, which is basically idea to MVP and then MVP to market launch, where the right skill set and the tool set are given to you, and you're taken through a practice-based entrepreneurial journey so that you understand all the nuances of entrepreneurship and how to start a venture and actually run a venture as you go through the program. And eventually, if it is a validated potential real venture, you have a chance to pitch to investors and incubators, accelerators. And this is the simple journey that happens, where there is an entry selection. You are shortlisted through a filter test, and then taken through an idea to MVP, and then MVP to market. And if you have developed a great product or offering and a good value proposition with a good business model, then it is followed by investor demo day, or you're supported in your revenues and customer base. And the idea is to launch high potential ventures at end of the programs, or 2 years down the line, or 5 years down the line, which eventually will create a lot of jobs for the nation. And these are some of the partners and the benefits that we have, where each startup that successfully completes the program and is sincerely looking forward to going ahead in the journey, we connect them with the early stage investors, funding agencies, or incubators, accelerators. A lot of one-to-one mentoring support, a part of global community that they become, which is across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And you get all other partner organizations benefits that we have in terms of. Just to be clear, we are not a funding agency. We are not an incubator. Our role is to build the capacity and create that network and ecosystem where everyone can play the necessary role that it has to play. So that's a brief introduction about the foundation and what we do. And in India, we are currently working with 100 plus institutes across East, West, North, South, and Central region in India, where 10,000 plus students and participants go through this program, and we support them with a lot of real world exposure, clinics, mentors, and eventually help them raise funding and or connect with the right incubators and accelerators so that they continue on their journey. Now, having said that, I wanted to spend, I'm sure many of you would understand what entrepreneurship is all about and why it is required. So I'm not going into the definition of entrepreneurship. I'm not describing who is an entrepreneur and what does an entrepreneur does. I'm assuming all of you are interested and have heard about startups and entrepreneurship and everything. But I do want to spend 5 minutes here to take you through the stage of the journey, and more importantly, from a funding perspective, so that you know where the funding comes and what type of people gets involved. And at that stage, what should we be prepared with, so that when we approach the right people, they are the right people who can help us as well. So if you look at stage 1 and stage 2, the bottom half of the graph, if you see the stage of venture development, this talks about the research part, which basically as part of your institution, as part of your studies, as part of your BTech program, you usually do some sort of project, some sort of minor and major project, and do some research, which is in your second year, third year. That could be a primarily basic research, fundamental research, and then you also make it convert it into a project which becomes an applied research. And if you are working on an invention, then there are a lot of grants that are available from the government side, which provides funding opportunities to work on the research, to create an innovation, to file for patents, to file for your IPR and everything. So this is basically stage 1 and stage 2. Now, the research part is where you've done with your innovation, you've done with an invention, but has it been tested with the customer? Has it been done looking at a customer or the potential target customer who's ready to buy that innovation or invention? And that is where your third stage, where you create a prototype, you create your solution demo, you go out, talk to customers, talk to your target market, bring them the product, bring them the offering, test it with them, and some of them buy, some of them doesn't buy. You come back with the feedback, reiterate on the entire process, and you kind of do a proof of concept, which is basically you have a value proposition which you feel that customer has a need for, and when you go to the customer says, yes, I was looking for this, and take my money and give me this product or give me this service. So that is basically proof of concept, where you have early customers, you have early traction, some revenues coming, and then you create your bigger market and business plan, and then you go for the next stage. The stage 3 is where a lot of friends, family, and funds from yourself come, or the funds from incubators come at stage 3. Stage 4 and stage 5 is the critical stage, where you take your proof of concept working prototype to the next step. You raise external funding from angel investors who see that there is value, there are customers that are buying or started to buying or liking your product, your offering, and they are ready to put in money in your startup, and you grow it to the next level, get more customers, get more revenues. You create a process, you create new strategies to scale it. And then stage 6, 7, and 8 is all about scaling, where you have large money coming in, large chunks of money, lot of mergers, acquisitions, lot of partnerships happens in the stage 6, 7, and 8. Any questions on this journey? Okay, I'll move to the next. Now, coming back to the topic, like preparing ourselves for a successful journey, how do we prepare ourselves? We need to understand what does a successful entrepreneurship or a startup has involved in it. And majority of us says that I have a big idea, and that is something is the most important thing. Of course, big idea is the first ingredient. Of course, it is one of the first ingredient that lays the foundation eventually for a successful startup, provided the rest of the things are in the right position and the right time. So big idea is one part. Second is very important, which is the major factor along with the idea, which is a competent team. Now, I may be an innovator or I may be a technologist, but I'm able to develop an innovation. But if I don't have a person, or if I don't have my skills where I can go and sell it out, or I can develop a business out of it, then that idea or that innovation has no meaning. So there is a team required who understands the business part of it, who understands the finance part of it, who understands the partnerships and relationship making of it, and how to run the operations and execution. The big idea, and then competent team put together. They come together, they build a plan on how do we take that idea to the market. And that's what your good plan or the business plan is all about, where taking it from idea level to market level. And then there is sufficient money that you need to make it happen, right? If I have to take it to the market, what all 5 things I need to do, that is in their plan. But I also need money to make this into to take it into the market. So that's sufficient money. But if you see these circles, these are only 20% of the entire successful startup ingredient part. The 80% of the secret sauce lies in the execution part, and that's the orange square in between, if you see. And I have seen multiple startups in my last 10 years of journey with working with startups, where we have provided, they have a good idea, good innovation that they have come out, good product and offering that they made. They have a good team, which primarily was a competent team to make the product. Good plan. We funded up to 35 lakhs in that startup, but eventually they couldn't go out and execute as per the plan, as per the projections that they had made, and they couldn't go out and sell it into the market. And the entire the money and the idea and the entire team got closed down, and they are now all doing their own work as of, and they taken up a job. But that's okay. The whole idea is in the execution part. Sometimes people and students primarily come to us that I have great idea and you just give us money and we'll change the world. But more importantly, we want to understand, how does your execution plan look like? How are you going to execute step by step? What are your 3 years down the line vision, 5 years down the line vision, and how do you position yourself in the entire industry and the market that you're looking at? And of course, a general's help of luck. COVID has given a lot of luck to the new age startups such as EdTech, FinTech, and all. It also was bad for many of the traditional businesses which got shut down. Many of the startups, many of the people have lost their jobs as well. So of course, the environmental factors, the surrounding factors play a very important role in terms of overall success of the entrepreneur. Do stop me in between if any questions, any doubt or anything that you don't agree with, and I would be happy to discuss that with you. Okay, going further, these are the questions. These are the two most important questions that usually come when I interact with thousands of entrepreneurs and students, more importantly, that I have just invented a great product. I have just invented and come out with a great idea, a great machine, great algorithm. Now what next? Can you provide me funding? Because I want to create a startup out of this. I want to create a venture out of this. And what should we answer here? If someone comes to you and say that I have invented a product, I have invented an innovation, an idea, and can you give me funding? And most of the time we have to work with them. Of course, we understand that there is a lot that needs to happen. It's not just about the invention, as you saw in the previous slide, and then we have to work with them in putting out the rest of the blocks together if they are very serious in creating a startup, right? And I want to give you a case behind this, an example behind this to substantiate what are the questions that students ask. Like, my product is the best that I have ever seen, or anyone would have ever seen. I just need some money to get this to the market. This will change the entire market. And once the customer sees the product, he is going to buy it because I believe that my product is the best, my offering is the best, my service is the best. And the fourth point, I don't have any competition. This is the first time that I have made this, and there is no competition. Nobody else in the world is working in this. So that's another thing that we usually see when the students come, the startups comes to us for various reasons. And I know all that is to know about making my business successful. And more importantly, this happens when we are working with institutions, the last point, where the faculties are running the show. They are teaching the entrepreneurship subjects, running the courses, and are usually the first mentors and the first facilitators where the students go and discuss about their ideas. And they all these questions, and when the faculty starts asking about some things, the only answer that comes is like, why the hell I'm listening to a faculty who's never done anything before. So I want to tackle all this and discuss one by one. These are relevant questions, I'm sure, because at your stage, when you have come out with a good idea, when you've come out with something which you think is going to change the world, and we understand your enthusiasm, we understand your passion about all this, but the subsequent slides, when I discuss, you will realize that it's not just about having the best product. It's not just about some money that you give me. It's not about that I don't have any competition. So that's what we're going to discuss. And let's just look at a small example about a person called Dean Kamen. I don't know how many of you have heard about this guy, but it was a great inventor who invented a wheelchair that could climb steps. Okay, And top-notch entrepreneurs like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs had invested $50 million in his new project, and the project was called as Project X. And what he thought is going to change the humanity forever. It's going to change the world with the product that Dean Kamen had invented. He took the money from Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and put a manufacturing plan and started making the product at full go. And the product is called Segway, and I'm sure many of you would have ride a Segway in the past at any of the monumental places or any of the malls or anywhere. A monumental failure. This was invented 20 years back, and till today, only 30,000 units have been sold. And if you look at the amount of funding that was done to create the product and set up the manufacturing unit, which is $50 million, the kind of units and the kind of success that this product should have made has nowhere near to that. And investors lost all their money, and the person lost his reputation. Now, what went wrong? The inventor focused on invention rather than the innovation part of it, right? Invention basically focuses on technical superiority, while innovation is an iterative process where you keep on taking the feedback from the customers and make changes in your product, in your offering. But he focused only on the invention part, made it technically superior with all the possible features that could come in a product like this, right? And some of the other things, like the third point, inventors tend to think of a product and then go about finding a market for it. So that was the problem. He created a product. He created the best product that it could have all the features and the things that it could do, and then went out and started finding the market for it. And when he went into the market and started selling it, a lot of questions started coming in. Where should I park it? How do I charge the battery? The sidewalks are made for pedestrians, roads are for cars. Where do I drive it? And all those. There was no infrastructure set up to ride a Segway. You need a proper place to ride a Segway, right? And there was no clear need. The one very important thing that came out is at $5,000 price, there was no compelling need for a product like this in the market. He thought it will be taken by FedEx or US Post Office or police department or other people in the big marketplaces or in the big residential or resorts, but there was no compelling need, and that is where the entire product got failed. And most importantly, the inventor had a lot of experience in building a product, but no experience in building companies. And that is where you need to have competent team members who can take your product, take your offering, the invention, make it into an innovation, go out, talk to customers, go out and interact with customers, take their feedback, come back and kind of make it into a iterative process until and unless it is chosen by these customers that this is something that they're looking for, and this is where they're ready to pay money, and the team members can go out and sell it. So very important, two important things from this example. One, do not just focus on the invention part of or creating the product or the service. Look from the customer's need and validate it from the target customers whether they actually need it. If they need it, they will always be ready to shell out money from their pocket. Second important, very important to have a team who can, you're good at something, the other one is good at the other part of the maybe the business part of it. So have a competent team in place. And there are many other examples like Google Glass. I'm sure many of you would have heard about it. Or a phone by Motorola in the 1980s, a satellite phone that they created, which was one of the first satellite phones, and they thought this would change the entire. This was the beginning of the mobile phones. The before the actual mobile phones came into the market, and they introduced the satellite phone. They thought the people sitting in the airplanes while traveling would need a phone to talk about their business with their customers, with their partners, with their staff and employees. And they actually created a satellite phone to sell to them, and there was no market for it. So companies like Motorola, Google, or the one that I just said have made horrible mistakes, and this originated the theory of something which is called customer discovery before even creating the product, which is basically your lean startup methodology, where you build your product while interacting, while taking feedback, keeping the customer in the center of the entire process. Any questions till now? Any comments, any suggestions? Okay, so I'll move to the next part, which is basically talking about why I'm focusing so much about the problem and the need and the want about, and it all starts from the idea. And when I go back to the slide where I showed the ingredients of a successful startup, it talks about the idea. And idea is all about identifying a problem which is worth solving. So I'm repeating again, an idea is nothing but identifying a problem which is worth solving. Now, there are various ways to do this, various ways to identify whether a problem is worth solving, validating it, the idea, evaluating it, and everything. But very, very, in the very layman language, it is, I usually tell to my startups that if there are customers begging on their knees, praying to God that you exist, right? If you are able to find those set of customers who are begging on their knees and praying to God that God, please provide me a solution for this problem, is where you start. And that is the problem that you start solving. Give to those customers, they become your first early adopters, and then you expand into your market segment, right? So that's the initial, and we'll see more about how do we evaluate whether it is how do we come and see whether it is a problem worth solving or not. So another simple formula and another way to look at your problem statement or look at your idea is something, a formula that we use is 1 inch wide and 1 mile deep formula. Usually when we start, and I've seen a lot of startups taking up an idea and coming to us and saying, sir, we will solve this for the entire world, this will change the entire world, and I will do this, and I will give these features, and so doesn't give this feature. We have included this, so we have included Facebook, we have included Pinterest, and we've also included Twitter into this, and it's a combined product, and this will solve for all the audience that is available for Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and all together, right? It is at the surface level, 1 mile wide in terms of your problem statement. You're solving it for everyone, and you're putting it each and everything that you think would be the best feature, what Segway did, what Dean came and did. And you hardly go deep into where exactly the problem is and who exactly has the problem, right? So 1 mile wide on the surface only, and no going deep into this, versus you take up You identify a big problem statement, narrow it down, go deep into this, which is basically going 1 mile deep into the narrowed sector. Who has the problem, why they have the problem, when do they have the problem, how do they solve this currently, why do they solve this, and going deep into the problem statement, narrow down the customer which is having the problem, which is having the need for the problem. And another simple example to kind of identify the root cause analysis of the problem, or how do we narrow it down, is something called 5 wives and 1 husband, which is usually used in all the organizations. And simply it's like 5W1H framework that is available. This is I've taken the image I've taken from Google itself. You can also look at 5W1H framework that is available, which is nothing but you start with what, why, where, when, and who, and then you go deep in details into if what is the problem, and then why is the problem, and where is the problem, when is the problem, who has the problem, and why he has the problem or she has the problem. Until and unless you've taken, so you've gone 5 Y's down and then 5 W's on the horizontal as well, and you have analyzed the problem statement from all angles, and then you start creating the solution, the how part of it. This is how we are going to solve. I kind of hear 15 to 20 presentations in a week from the startups, and majority of the time the startups talk about is how are we going to solve the problem, but they never talk about who has the problem, why they have the problem, when do they have the problem, and what exactly is the problem. And that's where the majority of the startups get rejected at the first place. Day before yesterday, I was with Gujarat government IC panel. We had 18 startups that presented, and I could only pass one startup because that was something which was essentially talking about, they had understood the problem and the entire customer pain point clearly, and were developing a problem solution fit. And that is where we would like to kind of see them go very far from there. So while you're while you're starting your journey, make sure that you are using this framework or any other framework that is available, but make sure you are doing or taking a problem which is worth solving. Does it make sense?
Absolutely. I think what you just shared, this is the crux that all the startups should focus upon while they are, starting to start their business, and they are thinking of converting an idea into a business model or some sort of a scalable model.
Absolutely. Thanks.
So, Ankit, I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
That mentioned about this government of Gujarat, panel being a jury member and such. So, in your experience so far, what do you think that the majority of the startups lack while they, present to the jury or as such?
Okay, sure. See, guys, very simple. If you have done this part, even the 5 W's, and you've understood your customer very well and understood the problem very well, the rest of the things are very simple, because then you don't have to worry about whether this will be sold or this will be bought by a customer, because you have understood them very well. You have worked with them. You have created the solution, looking at them, understanding, observing, and talking to them, right? So very important, and very first thing that we would look is, what is the problem that you're trying to solve and for whom you're trying to solve. If that is very clear in your presentation and in your first 2 slides when you're presenting, we understand that you've done a thorough job. And the rest of the things in terms of financial problems, or the financial sheets, or where do you need the funding or how would you make it, and everything is still doable because there are a lot of support system available. An incubator like yours, a Shine, has all the facility, but if you're not able to understand what the customer need, any lab or any funding, any kind of thing will not make it happen. So very important, understand your customer and then create a solution for them and not for yourself, right? And not just for creating a startup, we are making a product or a service.
Right. So yesterday we were interacting with around 30 plus students who are in their say MTech or in PhD. So they had this question that whether we can apply with our say project or thesis, and there is someone who wants to convert his project into a completely business, like, right? But presently such a technology only exists in Australia, and he want to do it for India. So is this possible for, say, the students to do that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, Kalp, I would come back. So, majority of the research, I'm sorry, but is done in a closed room. Now, if the research has been
Right.
done uh, along with the target customer, and it actually solves the problem, absolutely yes, absolutely yes.
And there is also one doubt that majority of the students have is uh, if they just have some idea or they are at the ideation stage and they are yet to create a prototype or they are yet to create a company, but they have a sound idea and a sound business model, then would it be given this kind of funding or not?
So there, I think if it's a student level, I think SSIP would be the right to start with, and that is how the policy has been made, where the initial level funding, the 2 lakh, 2.5 lakhs is given, and they come out with an initial prototype. The whole idea of now is where they test it with the customer, they identify while making the prototype, they are able to identify and validate the right customer segment, and then they go for this funding where they have done some good research, they have done some good validation with a few early customers, and when they come to GOG policy is where we have a lot of trust and understanding of the startup and the team that they have done a solid groundwork, and now they need to be supported to go to the next level.
Okay, I think that clears a lot of the confusion that the students have. Let's proceed with the presentation if you are okay.
Sure, sure. So I have now just a couple of more slides. It's more about Gyan and uh, what are the key things that you should, as a student, should not be doing. First thing first, your idea will not be stolen if you share it with anyone. Uh, what you can do is do not put it into a pamphlet and start sharing it on the crossroads. चार रास्ता पे बांटने जैसा नहीं है, but there are close people. You go to your incubator, go to Kalp, go to Darshan, talk to them. They will give you more insights because they have seen so many ideas, so many startups working in front of them. They have done it themselves. So unless and until you share, you interact, you take their feedback, you're not going to go ahead anymore. So my idea will be stolen is the first thing that you should not be worrying about, because as I said, idea is just 5% of the entire 100%, right? Second, very important, I see a lot of students coming to us that they are the only one doing this in the world and nobody else is doing this. And if I do a simple Google search, I found 10 searches that are doing the similar work.
True.
So believing that you are the only one having this idea, please don't come with that notion that अगर मैं, और ये ध्यान रखना, अगर आप कर रहे हैं, there are 10 people around the world doing something similar, or they would have already done and dusted it, right? So do a thorough research, at least do Google. Google should be the last. If you don't have access to the the platforms where you can do a competitive analysis, at least do Google and go to page 2, 3 and 4 to understand who's doing it. हम usually क्या होता है, page 1 पे देखते हैं नहीं आया, nobody is doing it. So make sure that these two things. Third thing, very important, sir, we have ideas, we have done everything as Kalp was asking. हमको बस पैसा दे दो 20 लाख क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट दे रही है, and we will make something exciting. It doesn't work like this, right? So you don't need a lot of money to do something exciting. You definitely need some money, but there are various ways to get some money to start doing something exciting. And it's okay to fail, okay? And that's, if you've not failed, you've not tried anything new. So it's okay to fail, and fail fast and move forward. That should be your mantra. And that's what the lean process, lean startup means, where you do something and that didn't work. That's okay. Let's learn and go to the next level. Let's create better offering. Start doing it. See the changes, opportunities around you. Build a great team. Keep networking. Be in the circle where you can get interested, like-minded people. Very important. You cannot, in today's world, today's competitive world, where thousands of people are doing similar stuff, you cannot build a scalable startup alone. So build a great team. That's what. And practice entrepreneurship, very important. If you have done a great research, you have done a great invention, but you have not gone out, talk to customers, talk to vendors, talk to suppliers, and how to do it, how to sell it, go out, practice, go out, make sure you do 1 sell, 2 sell, 3 sells before reaching out to investors. And this is something which is just a positive reinforcement. To conclude, see, entrepreneurship journey is not easy. Okay, lot of unknown parameters that keep coming, and that's where the incubators like ASHINE and others come into picture, which help you give that safety net that these are the common mistakes that everyone does. And you don't want to repeat the ones that have already been done. You do your own, so that way you have your better chances of succeeding. So again, who the customer, where are they, why would they buy from you? If you don't have answer to this, don't proceed until and unless you find the answer to the first point. Do not proceed for anywhere. So that's the basic start, right? And then the subsequent, how would it look? How would it become an organization? Can I make into a $1 million startup in, say, 2 years? Can I grow it into a 100 crore company? Does it sound big enough to work and put my entire life, effort, time, money into it? Then go about it, right? Getting there is hard, as I said. So you have to be better in most of the areas. You need to understand finances. You need to understand how to build a team. You need to understand operations. You need to understand, go out and administrator. But you could be one good at, say, I am good at selling it, or I'm good at making it, or I'm good at finance part of it. So identify your niche, and then also learn the other stuff as well as part of your entrepreneurial journey. And this is pretty much doable while you are studying, and this is the right time. If you are in first year, you have 3 years more to go. If you are in second year, you have 2 more years to go, and if you are in third year, you have still 1 year to work. And this is the right time to work and while studying, so that you don't have to waste more time when you graduate. And that's it. Welcome to the world of entrepreneur. It's like riding a lion, where the fear is riding a lion, and if you fall, the lion will eat you. But it's also the pride that I am riding a lion. Everyone else, see, घोड़े की सवारी तो सभी करते हैं, शेर की सवारी करना कुछ ही लोग कर पाते हैं. So that's where the world of entrepreneur looks like. And with that, Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take.
Yes, Ankit, we have one person, Viraj. If you can ask the question to Ankit, he'll be happy to answer to that.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. My name is Viraj, and
Hi, Viraj.
recently I was there in WF Wadhwani Foundation's course. So there I found a similar startup with about 70% similarities in fundamental questions, for example, what, why, and all of those, right? So that kind of thing kind of struck me कि अभी मेरे को क्या करना चाहिए अभी तो जो मैं कर रहा था जैसे आपने मेंशन किया आपने बिल्कुल सही मेंशन किया कि यूजुअली स्टूडेंट्स को लगता है कि उनका आइडिया यूनिक है और मैं कोई डिफरेंट नहीं था बट जब मुझे ये बात पता लगी कि यार कोई और भी स्टार्टअप है जो कि नियरली 70% सेम है मुझसे नॉट 100 ऑफ कोर्स बट नियरली 60-70% सेम है तो अभी मैं इस सिचुएशन को कैसे असेस करूं आई मीन अब मैं पिवटिंग के बारे में सोचूं जिससे आगे चल के क्लैश ना हो या फिर मैं ऐसा सोचूं कि कोई नहीं मैं अपना इधर डेवलप करता हूं आई विल एक्सेलरेट मोर एग्रेसिवली और मैं आगे बढ़ जाऊं कि मैं सिंपली जैसे मैं कर रहा था अच्छे से लीन मेथोडोलॉजी को फॉलो करते हुए मैं वैसे ही चलता रहूं व्हाट्स योर
Right.
सजेशन टू मी
Sure, sure. Thanks. Interesting question and great question. Uh, Very simple. Answer is very simple, but very, very tough to follow. First thing is first, you need to understand the value chain, right? I don't know what idea in the sector you are working in. For example, uh, I,
Ankit, just a second.
yeah,
Viraj, if you can share your idea with Ankit, he'll be able to share the response in a better manner. He can actually, suggest some points to you.
Okay. So in simple words, it is a campus-based Yulu services.
right,
So Yulu is operating on the cities level and they are facing a lot of technical trouble. We are constraining the market to the level that we know and we are applying that.
right,
Simple. So
right.
it is a campus-based electric bicycle rental system.
Understood. Understood. See, yeah, of course, got multiple such startups working across India now and outside as well. And I keep interacting with them as I move from states and institutes, from Gujarat to some. We recently got one called Rides Now, connected with Hostel Fund, and they're exploring how to uh, right. So how do you differentiate yourself, right? One, understand the entire value chain of how does this rental biking, so the entire industry is working. So there is Yulu, there is another one that is there in, say, north, there is one in south, and then you're also saying you're doing electric, which is where the ethers and others come into picture, which are generating those cycles or the vehicles, electric vehicles. Now, first you understand the entire value chain, what all and who are the people in the entire value chain are working, and then understand what are the things that they are doing. For example, what Ether is doing, and I'm just giving you an example what Ether is doing, and then what are their periphery ideas. And these are not straightforward things that you will put it on Google and kind of identify what Ether is planning to do or any similar EV related startup is planning to do, right? So these are things that you'll have to interact with the vendors that they are interacting with, the customers that they have, with their own staff, and reaching out to them somehow and calling them and understanding what are their model and everything. On the other side, you're saying you're doing it for the campuses. There are 10 other startups doing the same thing. How are they functioning and what are the models that they have created, and understand the gaps. For example, right now I can connect you with this guy, and one of the problems that he's facing is the license problem and the theft problem, and he is kind of stuck there where the bike is stolen. He's been charged because this bike has been used by someone else for some other not some other illegal thing, and he is now stuck there as to how do I solve this, and is kind of pivoting on the other side. So understand the gaps. Where are the gaps? What are they have done, and can you create a sweet spot for yourself? Do you have a solution for those problems that these guys have stuck? Because as I said, ultimately it lies into the execution part of it. So if you understand the value chain, if you understand how would the cycle look like, for example, he did not, I don't know if you have thought about it, but he did not thought about, if I am introducing and giving it into a rental and my bike is taken and if any illegal work is done, how do I ensure that I am not liable, or as a company Viraj is not liable, right? So he did not thought about it. But if you've thought about it and the other consequential scenes that would happen, and then lay down and create a proper execution plan in happening, you will have a better executionable plan than the other. So that's the way forward if you want to stick to this. And if you want to pivot, see, pivoting is also not easy, because it all drives from what you want to do as an individual or as a team, what the team wants to do, right? You want to stay in the EV sector, and then or you want to do in the bike rental, or what kind of service you want to be always as 5 years down the line. If EV is something that you want to create and build infrastructure around, then focus on EV and what are the other opportunities then you can think. If the rental is something that you're thinking that this is where I want to be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the line, and make it into big 100 colleges in India, then 200 colleges across, then think about how do you plan to scale it. So two different verticals, right, in terms of pivoting. And then there could be third, where you have the strength, which I don't know with just one line that you have shared, but there could be a third strength which you have the skills and the strength, and you may want to do this 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the line, and maybe you want to pivot in that vertical. So again, no straightforward answer. Best is to understand the value chain. Best is where are the problems, gaps, and fill those gaps, and you have a upper hand in terms of your competitors.
Great. Thank you.
थैंक यू अंकित। मैं थोड़ा ऐड करना चाहूंगा विराज के क्वेश्चन के ऊपर। विराज, दो तरीके से तुम एनालिसिस कर सकते हो। एक तो होता है फर्स्ट मूवर। तो फर्स्ट मूवर क्या होता है? जो कुछ नया टेक्नोलॉजी लेके आए और डिसरप्शन कर ले। तो पहले तुम्हें आइडेंटिफाई करना ये होगा कि तुम क्या कुछ अनमेट नीड सॉल्व कर रहे हो जो अभी तक कोई नहीं लाया। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैं जियो की बात करूं तो एग्जिस्टिंग प्लेयर्स तो थे, लेकिन जियो ऐसा एक टेक्नोलॉजी लेके आया जिससे सबको अभी अपग्रेड करने की जरूरत हो गई है। और सेकंड होता है कि फास्ट मूवर। फास्ट मूवर ये होता है कि काफी सारे कॉम्पिटिटर्स है, तो लेकिन उसके अंदर में हमें वही प्रोडक्ट रेंज लेके आना है। तो हम लोग कैसे नए नए इनोवेशंस ला सकते हो और इतनी तेजी से आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल, पतंजलि फास्ट मूवर में कंसीडर किया जाता है कि उससे पहले भी हिंदुस्तान यूनिलीवर, प्रोक्टर एंड गैम्बल, डाबर, ये सब 150 साल पुरानी कंपनियां हैं, लेकिन पतंजलि अभी 5 साल से आगे पूरा मार्केट अभी कैप्चर कर रही है। सो आइडेंटिफाई ये करना होगा कि फर्स्ट मूवर में कौन सा हम लोग फीचर डाल सकते हैं और फास्ट मूवर में हम लोग क्या चीज हम लोग एडॉप्ट कर सकते हैं।
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Any more questions?
So Ankit, as you mentioned, this is a very small world that Ankur, the founder of Hostel Fund, is an NIT alumnus.
I know,
right? So Viraj, you actually connected the dots for us, Me and Ankit, we go back, then Ankur is there and you are there. So I think there is kind of a synergy that's happening that hopefully would help you as well.
Sure. And Viraj, I think we'll be happy to connect you offline and also with the I know three people at different locations doing similar things, and I would like you guys to talk with each other to understand all what each of you are doing. So maybe a joint thing can come out, and you guys can work together and focus on creating a better market than individually fighting for it.
True, true, absolutely. So Viraj, I'll connect you with Ankit and we'll move
Okay.
forward to this connect and whatever we can learn, absolutely, we are open to that, right? Ankit, before we end this webinar, I just wanted to ask this on a personal level that we have known each other since so long now. I
Right.
never had this question that how did Ankit, someone who got his gold medal from Nirma in MBA, then ventured into the innovation ecosystem? Like, how did that entire journey happen?
Wow. Okay. Long journey. Multiple failures before I entered here. But primarily, I come from a family business background. I kind of completed my engineering, worked for some time in the technical domain, which later then I realized after getting into the core electronics engineering, where I decided I have learned nothing in the last 4 years, and I don't know how to even write a. That time we were working on some Raspberry Pi software, and even didn't know how to write a code after doing 4 years of engineering. So decided to go back to family business, work there for 8 months. For 8 months, kind of tried to understand how the family business work. While I knew how it works, but because you've been in the family business for 20 years, so you know what is going on. Every night on the dinner table, you would hear the conversations and everything, and in the morning. But then when you actually get into the business is where you understand how the customers behave, how your suppliers behave, how for every penny you have to negotiate, right? For like 2 rupees, they would say you आप
True.
5 रुपए कम कर दो, वो बोलेगा
Correct.
नहीं 2 रुपए ही तो कमाना होता है, and I realized, and that industry was into food grains and cattle feed, and I saw that there was no sweet spot for me here. I was not able to add any more value than I could have. And then I went for MBA. And during my MBA, I started working with a startup which was into solar energy. We After my first year of MBA in Nirma is where I started working with them. Kind of stayed in for 15 days in a very small village in Rajasthan. We installed three solar systems for telecom towers, and kind of then worked with them for a couple of more projects. But the major project was this telecom tower business, where we had to install another 500 for them, and that was the big idea that the way I was working with the two co-founders. And that's where this company got acquired by another company, and got and shut his operations in Rajasthan, and the entire project failed. The startup failed, and after 8 months, we all decided to continue on another. But the learning that I had while working in the startup as a research associate is where to understand how does the startup world looks like, how the founders think, how the new emerging technologies are going to come and change the world, and what are the various problems in the, let alone only the solar sector. And then there are n number of other things, and that's where I decided to go deeper into this. I got interacting with TI, with incubators. I create was one, CI, each I was happening that time. This is, I'm talking about 11, 12. And that's where I got into I create and started continuing, and post that you know where it is. So yeah, multiple failures before actually getting and streamlining into what I really wanted to do in life.
Great. So I would like to, so just to mention electronics. So I would like to welcome Dr. Shweta Shah. She is someone who is very much connected. She's a professor in electronics and communication department, and now she has taken the charge as the SSIP coordinator as well.
Great.
And she's also one of the core committee members of ASHINE. So, ma'am, I would request you to have a vote of thanks for our wonderful speaker Ankit, and share a few words. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear us? Shweta, ma'am.
I think she's dropped.
No, no, no. I
She's
think,
there. She's there.
yeah, she is there. I think there might be some issue, ma'am. Yes, she can hear us. Okay, ma'am. If you can proceed with the vote of thanks. Okay, okay. Ma'am is facing some issue. Yes. Priyan, you have a doubt. If you can please quickly ask it. I think we are going about the time limit.
Yes, sir. Sorry for the delay. So the thing is, I wanted to ask if there is a idea which is basically there to promote an already established sector. Like if I say that there is some idea which will basically boost the sales for Amazon in e-commerce, then there is no point in actually making a whole portal and then approaching the sellers and then starting off from ground zero, right? So what can be a possible method? Because not always we go for a product based startup. If it is a service based startup and we have a way to innovate something which is well established already. So what is the suggestion?
Right. So, Priyan, again, coming back to the what I was speaking to Viraj, unless and until you identify where the gap is, in even if it is established business, the dynamics are changing every day, right? The customers' preferences are changing every day. Uh, 2 years back, you wanted to have something else. Today, you want to have something else. Before COVID, you wanted to have something else. After COVID, the perspectives, the behaviors, and everything has changed. And the same players, if they are not able to dynamically convert them based on the customer's feedback, you have a point to enter and then start solving that particular pain point. And you always start very small with the very niche customers who have the pain point, satisfy them, early adopters, they become your early adopters, and then then you grow and expand based on the more and more interactions with the customer. So to answer your question, identify the gap in the existing process and see if this is a gap that needs to be filled, and can you fill this, and uh, do you have in it, and do you want to do it? So that's also important. So one is having the skills, and more importantly, do you want to, like for example, I never wanted to be in the food grain industry or cattle feed industry, so I decided to move. But do you want to do this? So both things should match, which will take you to the longer journey.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well then,
Am I audible now?
Yes,
please
ma'am.
go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Ankit. Thank you for a lovely session. Here, I'm really impressed with the presentation, and as Kalp has mentioned, that I have taken up a new charge. So your support would be highly required for the further building up the ASHINE to the newer level, and we even identifying students that they have to they should attend the Wadhwani Foundation basic course, so that they can understand what level they should go ahead further. They can solve many things, because up till what I have observed among these startup, that students have idea, but sometimes that motivation gets decrease with the time, because somehow they are not coping up with the competition level, what as and when they are going ahead. So they are facing lot many issues, or I don't know, because what I have observed in many of the startup with the discussion and all, that to maintain, to answer that five wives and one husband question, that's the toughest thing that every startup has to deals with first. If they are able to answer that, or they are able to handle rather that five wives, so they can be a good husband to handle the whole startup. That is what my suggestion to the students. So uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, so with that, I really thankful to you, Ankit, for giving such a lovely session to our young brains, and I wish that they come up with a very good change or evaluation, or you can say invention or innovation in near future with the help of yours.
Great.
And
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much,
much.
and lovely speaking to all. All the very best to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Carl. Thanks.